Yo, what's good? It's a Sai. Today we're gonna be looking at this M700 from Delux. It's pretty nice. I've been using it for about a month now. It's like 67 grams. Got it from Amazon for pretty cheap. It's like 40 bucks. Definitely a good beginner mouse, or like if you're kind of getting into peripherals and want something that's a bit lighter than your maybe stock Office, or like a super cheap gaming mouse from a few years back. This is probably not a bad place to start. I know a lot of people have talked about the Delux M800, which is like a Viper Ultimate clone, which I got over there. But I already got a Viper Ultimate, so I didn't really want the M800. And I think most people have already talked about this, but no one's really talked about this M700 before. And so I figured I'd give a quick review of it, some thoughts, because I think it's it's on Amazon, and I think it's pretty popular. And if a lot of people are going through Delux, then they're bound to find this thing. And I think it's probably a good purchase, and there's probably a certain demographic of people who would really benefit from having this thing. So, without further ado, I guess we'll start with the hardware specs. It's got a 3389 sensor in it, right in the bottom there. Pretty good. Actually, it's probably one of the best you can get right now, especially on a wired mouse. Good high DPI performance, very responsive, able to go up to 1000 hertz, and that's just adjustable in their driver. Yeah, pretty solid sensor. I think it's kind of the best you can do without dipping into the hero lineup, but I don't know a ton about sensors, so feel free to correct me about that one. Doesn't spin out if you have it super high. Mind you, I only play it at like a pretty standard 1000 DPI, so I'm not really pushing it to its limits. Mouse itself is 67 grams, very light, lots of holes. Shape is, I think, a Model O ripoff. I don't have a Model O, so I actually don't know, but feels pretty good in the hand. I'm mostly like a kind of fingertip claw grip, but it works for me. It only really touches like kind of the lower parts of the hand, and it just kind of makes it a nice resting spot. But usually if I'm playing games, then I'm not really making any contact. So it's a pretty standard shape though. Easy to get hold of if you're used to ambi mice, if you're coming from that kind of background, which is pretty common. So I think it's a pretty safe shape. I don't think it pushes any boundaries, but not my favorite, but definitely not bad. Clicks are pretty good. They feel pretty good. Well tensioned, not a lot of pre-travel. My right mouse button definitely feels a lot softer and easier to press. It definitely actuates faster than my left mouse button, and I don't think that's a like a wear kind of thing. I think it just came like that. Although I have put this mouse through the ringer. It came back to me in my backpack over the break because I went back for the holidays home. So it traveled around with me a fair bit, and it's like fairly durable. But I don't think any of the click inconsistencies are because of that travel. It was pretty safe with it. In general, they feel pretty good, responsive, pretty light, but not like light like Logitech's or anything. Side buttons are a bit more mushy, but they're pretty good. There's a fair amount of pre-travel before they actually actuate, and they definitely don't sound as clicky. They're a bit dull. I don't know if you can really hear this very well. Overall, pretty solid side buttons. I don't think people are as picky about them as your main two clicks, so I won't talk about that too much. DPI doesn't cycle, but it goes up and down. There's actually two DPI buttons here. I have no clue what switch is in this. I assume it's just some kind of standard PCB, like generic OEM's like button press switch, but doesn't really matter. I don't think anyone pays too much attention to that. As you cycle them, you get the different colors. I think that's adjustable in the driver. I set my colors to what I want, and I more or less stick to 100 or 1000 DPI anyways, so I don't really adjust that much. Comes with PTF feet and replacements. Pretty nice touch. Feet have been faring pretty well so far. I haven't been like putting this thing under the ringer or anything, but they've been holding up. Got a paracord cable here. Super light. Helps given that the mouse is itself pretty light, and you really don't feel it. I don't use a cable jumper or anything. And yeah, I don't really notice anything about it, so I'm fine on that regard. It's got holes all over the top, but not on the side, which I kind of like. It feels good in the hand that way. It doesn't like irritate your fingers. If you're not used to holes, this is probably a good place to start. It's they're not exactly like, they don't go crazy with the design. It's pretty standard, especially where the holes are placed and how they're cut out, but it looks pretty good. They have 3 color options if that is interesting to you. There's a pink one, there's a white one, and I think there's a black one. They also release a whole bunch of variations on Amazon with worse sensors, but they're like $10 cheaper or so. In my opinion, not really worth it. I'd say you just bite the bullet, spend 10 extra bucks, and get the nice sensor. It's not worth it to be stuck with some crappy office sensor and spin out, especially if you're gonna buy this mouse anyways. You may as well just put a little bit extra money in and get a nice sensor. Yeah, in terms of performance, because of that, you'll be pretty set. And I don't see, like, I think we're kind of reaching a point with sensors where any like noticeable improvements aren't really that noticeable unless you're really cranking things to the max. So this sensor will probably last. In terms of build quality, mouse is pretty rigid. It doesn't have a battery, right? It's a wired mouse, so they can make it fairly light without having to compromise on some of the internal structures for weight. It's a bit creaky, I found. I'm not sure if that's because I've been traveling around with it a bunch over the break and it got like banged up in my backpack. I don't think so. I think it was just kind of naturally a bit creakier, but that's a little bit. It doesn't give though. There's no give. It just creaks a bit. The software for drivers was okay. It's kind of, like shitty manufacturing software, but it gets the job done. You can adjust it to like 1000 hertz and then change your lights configurations around to get the LEDs you want and then delete it. Past that, it doesn't really have any purpose, but it works. And the mouse works without drivers in the first place, so it's not like a necessity. It's just for like if you want to tweak the colors and also what the side buttons do and stuff. Yeah, I think the DPI goes up to like something crazy. I'll put it on screen, like the Amazon page, and it talks about it here. I don't really use it at its max. I don't, like, realistically, most people won't, but if you are someone who uses crazy high DPIs, the sensor can handle it. I haven't any issues with it otherwise. But yeah, pretty solid mouse for the price. Looks kind of cool. If you like a deluxe or a Glorious Model O kind of shape, but don't want to buy something from Glorious or have issues with the QC, definitely something you should keep your eyes open for. Deluxe seems to be making these pretty decent clones and decent shape. And yeah, I'd recommend this, especially if you're someone like kind of entry level into the market and looking for something like pretty cheap and easy to get used to. I think it's a pretty safe bet. Yeah, I guess that's really it. All I have to say about this mouse. Stick around in the future. I got a few other things in backlog here that I want to make videos about. Just picked the Aqua Control 2 from X-Ray Pad. Pretty cool mousepad. I've been using it for the last week or so. Probably make a video about that soon. Talking about some of my thoughts. The Viper Ultimate, which I've been using for about a year, I kind of want to talk about. Same with the G305. Got the Aqua Control Plus 2 from X-Ray Pad here. And an Artisan Hayate Otsu under, which I all think deserve their own videos. And then obviously the kind of beacon, the Starlight Phantom, which just came in. So definitely want to talk about this mouse. Got some thoughts about it. So stay tuned for that. I also got a bunch of keyboards that I want to talk about that aren't necessarily gaming related, but I think they could make some cool videos. So yeah, stick around for that stuff. Like and sub if you like these kind of style of reviews. Generally not a fan of like the overproduced reviews, especially with tech that's all over YouTube. So I'm pretty happy with the new trend and all these like underground amateur reviewers. And I thought that I may as well be a part of that since I generally enjoy partaking in these kind of things. So here we are. If you enjoyed, let me know and stick around for some new videos in the future.